Hey, it's Henry from the editing booth here. Corey and I spent the first part of this episode, maybe 5 minutes or so, talking about a beer um, that we refuse to cut. It has to stay in there. It's part of the life and soul of the pod. But for whatever reason, if you wish to skip that, please jump to the time code that I have put in the show notes. Hope you enjoy the episode. Ooh. I heard all of that.
Okay. So, do you want me to read the back of this can to sort of get you in the mood? Do you want some Goose ad copy?
Oh, I need some Goose blurb.
Yeah, Goose. So it starts, another world needs exploring.
Fuck. Shit, me!
Yeah!
My headphones fell out, I laughed so bad.
Okay, and then it goes, Goose is on the loose, discovering new worlds of flavour.
No.
Yeah!
You can't do that, he's colonizing, you can't do that.
Like an imperialist goose. So...
This goose gets the world you're drinking his blood.
That's just the title and the subtitle. Are you fucking ready for the body text? Are you ready?
Fuck me, I don't think so, go on.
From a pine forest paradise and beach full of peach to a home in Aldi's middle aisle, this golden IPL mixes it all to create a crisp, fruity lager with the hoppy taste of an IPA, dry hopped with Mosaic, Cascade and Amarillo hops for a peachy pine aroma with a hint of malty biscuit and refreshing finish.
Holy shit.
And then there's 3 fucking scales underneath it.
Excuse me?
There's scales. The goose has scales.
Are you gonna actually explain?
Okay, so
go on.
So the first scale on one side is easy drinking. On the other side is small sips only. Now,
okay.
Now I just read you the blurb of Goose on the Loose.
Oh,
do
I have to guess?
do you think it's more easy drinking or small sips only?
Oh, I don't know. Imperialism does make my tongue sting a lot. I couldn't take big sips of it, but I don't know. The goose is destined for the wall, so maybe his implication of that is that it goes down easy.
Yeah, that goose goes down real easy.
Wow.
So the second scale, the second of 3 scales on this can.
Holy shit.
So again, I've read you the life story of this goose.
Apologies, my headphones just fell out.
Okay, I've read you the life story of this goose.
You have.
So after that, do you reckon that this Goose on the Loose is more deep and dark or fresh and fruity?
He thinks he's fresh and fruity.
You're right. Yeah, you're right. It's a fruity goose. It's a fruity,
of course he does.
Fruity goose.
I mean, you did say in the Chronicles of Goose that he was a fruity flavor. So
yeah, it mentions.
I don't know why I'm assuming he's a he.
It mentions peaches like 3 times.
Okay. What's the third hellish nightmare you have for me?
Clear as day. Okay, that's on one end.
Okay.
On the other end of the final goose scale, it's curiously cloudy.
Holy shit. I want to so desperately to believe that he's curiously cloudy.
He is not. It's clear as day.
Clear as day,
Clear
piss water.
as
Fantastic.
day.
Holy shit.
I'm still fucking losing a hint of malty biscuit. That's fucking insane.
I think I got lost somewhere in the fucking in the new discoveries that he'd taken me to, and now I'm marooned on an island of hopelessness. So.
Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. For the union makes us strong.
Welcome to Unions in the UK, a podcast about unions in the UK. My name is Henry, pronouns they, them, and I'm here with...
I'm Corey, and my pronouns are she, her.
Corey, how are you doing today? we might be a bit late on this one, huh?
It's fine. We are quiet quitting podcasting.
Yes, correct.
Which means that we're only doing the bare minimum.
We're doing the bare minimum, and we said once every 2 weeks, and you know what? The release of that bonus episode set us off onto that course of doing it again for 2 weeks. God, I was going to reference the fucking goose again.
It's fine, reference the goose. The
like
goose
the
is staying
of the
in.
Goose, much like the journeys of the goose across the Pacific, we too have gone on a journey, and that is a journey of self-discovery into learning that we should not do podcasts while we're half asleep.
Absolutely not. We should not try and do 1,000,001 things and do like training at work, organise a training, organise a ballot, and have hobbies and a social life. We shouldn't do that and then record a podcast as well.
Oh, but I really want to. Fuck. Speaking of like unions, that thing that we talk about.
In the UK.
In the UK.
Yeah.
We haven't necessarily spoken about what. So let's say you're a fresh-faced new worker, and you've gotten a new job. Hooray! You're not going to starve for at least a while. That's great. That is wonderful news. You're in a workplace and you know nothing. How do you get involved in union stuff?
Well, I'm glad that you, our hypothetical worker, our spherical worker in a vacuum, has...
Let's bring her back, shall we?
We're bringing her back from the lost episode, the spherical vacuum worker.
She's called Debbie.
Okay, yeah.
Debbie's just started her new job at
the new Dyson ball factory. You see, that's spheres and vacuums.
Cool.
I got that. Yeah.
Is she a salesperson or no? In the factory, so she's like a factory worker. Is she on the like production chain or?
Yeah, I mean, I think she's like a classic working class job. You know.
Okay.
I think that makes this easier, right?
I have no idea what they do in a Dyson factory, but she's on like one of those conveyor belts, and she has to pick up a bit of metal and attach it to another bit of metal and put it back down, and tens of people do that in a row. That's my view on factory work. My very up-to-date view on factory work. Yeah. Oh Christ.
Yeah, we subscribe to the Fordist model of factories on this podcast, and nothing ever progressed from there as far as we're concerned.
No, nothing has ever changed.
Nothing happened.
That's true though.
Yeah.
So
Debbie's just started work, so there's a couple of things that she can do. She can either find out if there's a union already in place in her workplace.
Okay.
And we should talk about that first, because there's a few things to consider when you're joining a union that's already in your workplace. So, but usually, if there is a recognised union, what will happen is that a union rep will come to your induction in some capacity. Usually, like, do a little presentation, they'll do a little slideshow, they might do a funny little dance for you if you ask them.
That would be very cool.
Please don't ask your union reps to dance.
I wish I had this. I was unfortunate enough not to get, like, a union rep meeting when I first joined. I'd have loved a little dance.
Well, you can be the change you want to see in the world.
That could be me.
That could be you. Volunteer with your union to do silly little dances for new starters.
You have... Go on, sorry.
No, I was going to say... so either a union rep will come round to the induction, or if there's, again, a recognised union, at minimum, typically the employer will inform you. The better way round is if the union rep gets to inform you about the union themselves, and the best way that this can happen is if the management side leaves the room when your union rep gives a talk. Like, I was in a workplace once where that happened, and basically everyone just signed up because the manager's not watching and the union rep's there with the sign-up sheets and a bunch of little pencils.
And a crowbar, just in case you need it.
For crowing bars, yeah.
Well, it's for Debbie in her new position as the factory floor worker. So in case she needs to stop the machine all of a sudden, you know, she's going to do SAB work for the union, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I mean, like, yeah. In my case, like the university gets away with doing the bare minimum to point out unions by creating a little web page that is reasonably difficult to access. It's under staff benefits, and it's buried in that page somewhere under, I think they call it staff representation first, and then you have to click on that, and then it shows you a page with the 3 unions that are recognized, which are UCU, Unison, and Unite, for various different roles and stuff.
Yeah, I think that's another thing to consider is whether there's multiple unions where you work. Like some of the established workplaces, especially like schools, like hospitals, like civil service and sort of adjacent, there might be 2 different unions, there might be 3 that sort of fulfill different functions and have different workforces attached to them. And that's something that you should look into, because generally you want to be in the same union as the people in your department or in your building. If for some reason it's segregated by building or, you know, whatever, you want to be in a union with the people around you, and you want to do a little bit of thinking about how you can best achieve that if there's more than one union to choose from. It would also be worth considering whether the unions broadly politically align with yourself.
I was about to say, the reason I picked UCU is because it was slightly, like, marginally more militant than the other 2.
So that's sort of the most common political divide you'll see in unions, is which ones are a little bit more bolshy, which ones are not. That might genuinely be a something that exists only within your workplace, though. For example, like, it might be that the UCU where Henry is the more militant one, but there might be one of the other.
That's lowercase m militant.
Yes, yeah, yeah. as in more willing to take action. Let's define our terms. More willing to take action, more willing to take more radical action in order to get their demands met by management. Yes. But like in other places, it might be that UCU is the less active, less likely to go on strike, and that's again something that you need to look into, because like nationally, the unions have a certain character, especially the larger ones have a bit of a defined character that may not necessarily translate into individual branches. Like, I think the biggest example I can point to with that is last year at the COP25, the climate change summit. It was held in Edinburgh, and at the same time the bin workers were on strike, and they were unionised by GMB. Now GMB,
our best friends at GMB.
GMB has a bit of a reputation for being less progressive when it comes to ecological reforms and things. They tend to take the opinion that a lot of their members work in industries that rely on fossil fuels. A lot of their members would work in proposed like fracking sites, things like that. So they don't necessarily want rid of them as badly as other unions, is the impression you get from like GMB HQ. But the GMB local bin workers branch during COP25 were really vocal about environmental issues, if I'm recalling correctly. I know that they marched.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, they marched alongside the big demonstration that was going on the day. They ran a really good social media campaign, actually. Yeah.
I was going to say, I'm currently getting an email off Gary Smith, and he's calling that particular branch bourgeois environmentalists.
Yeah, that's the other problem. That's the other end of it, is that even if locally your branch is quite good, nationally they can be hamstrung a bit if your politics don't align with that of the leadership to a greater or lesser extent.
Yeah, which is unfortunate as well, because I've seen some cool stuff come out of some GMB branches.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, ultimately the power, like I've said it before, like the power of these centralized union bureaucracies and like hierarchies, it comes from members, and ultimately they can't actually stop you so much from doing stuff. They can not support you as well as they should, and that's been a historical trend with unions. Where they failed, it has typically been because they've refused to support workers who needed supporting. That's typically.
We talked about this more in the hegemony episodes.
Yeah, exactly. We talked about in particular how it's formed along like racial lines that unions have tended to sort of fail to show the appropriate level of solidarity because of their own internal politics, and that sucks. But at the same time, it never stopped. It never stopped the strikers from going on strike that we discussed in the other episode. It never stopped the workers collectively organising and bargaining for their rights and doing a damn good job. That's the sort of two sides of that. Where the fuck were we?
So Debbie's at her workplace. She's seen the GMB flyer and said, "You know what? Maybe not." But she's getting the impression that there isn't a recognized union in her workplace. She's kind of worried now. She's joined this company. She's been fixing bits of metal together for about a week now, but no sign of any representation whatsoever. I guess what does she do there?
Well, that's where things get interesting and weird, and you've got to organise a brand new union. Got to organise to have a brand new union work towards recognition. That tends to be the sort of first step that most unions take. Some unions don't want recognition. I know the IWW tends to believe that they work better without those sort of constraints,
Yep.
that's fine. That's just a difference in tactics.
Yeah. So, one thing that Debbie could do is very, very cautiously chat around with her workmates, see what where they are politically. Do they hate unions? Are they willing to rat you out? Probably not, really, but there's always one.
I think we talked about this. It was either in the hegemony episode or in the Lost episode, where people are way too cautious, especially sort of if you come out of a more anarchist organising tradition. People tend to be too cautious about OPSEC. Like, obviously, there are situations where you need to be really cautious, where you're doing certain things that may get you sacked.
Cool things.
Doing cool things that may get you sacked. Those kinds of things that we on the podcast cannot officially condone.
So you're saying that I can't tweet out that I'm going to... we can't do that? No? Okay.
No. I would advise you simply don't do that officially. But yeah, there are times when you do need really strong OPSEC, but when you're talking to people about joining a union, you know, you sort of need to meet people where they are.
Yeah.
Like, you can't, like, people aren't gonna join a super secret Telegram message thread because it's slightly more encrypted than WhatsApp. They're not gonna
for sure.
like, honestly, just talking to people where they are, and you need to sort of be confident in saying to people, hey, this is what we want to do, this is why it's a good idea. And the thing about, like, are people gonna rat you out? Like, I would say, think about, like, the places that you work, and you tell me there are people that give enough of a shit about the boss and there not being a union for them to bother ratting you out.
Yeah, for sure.
Like,
it's
most
gonna take
people aren't.
a very unique 1 in a million kind of person. Like,
Yeah, like, the sort of worst that I think you'd get is there are people who'll be quite careless about it and just mention it to the boss, which is that's something to look out for, and just sort of say, you know, don't talk to the manager about this kind of thing. Like,
yeah.
but you know,
yeah, no, that again, very, very fair point. I mean, like, I'll say this with a pinch of salt and then follow immediately with a clarification. You can't get fired for trying to organize a union. Pause. You can, but they'll say it's for something else. But, like,
yeah, if you work somewhere with a 0 hours contract, especially, one of the tactics that people have seen is that they just reduce your hours down to nothing.
Yeah.
But things like that are going to become less and less effective as it becomes harder and harder to hire people. And at the moment,
yeah.
At the moment in the UK, as far as I'm aware, it is actually quite hard to get people into new jobs. People are having to offer better positions.
Yeah.
Than they otherwise would have.
I know one of the reasons why. So a lot of the jobs in the university are just people swapping hats inside the university already. I mean, one, that's just how that's how promotions work in the university. You swap jobs, but, like, it's quite expensive to hire someone new because you have to put out advertising and then conduct interviews and all this kind of stuff. It's a lot easier to just swap someone's head. But yeah, so Debbie is currently in her workplace. She's whispering to her workmates, hey mate, you in a union? She's trying to find out who else is in a particular union so she can figure out which one to join, just so it's easier to organize. But no one is in a union. Oh piss. No one else is unionized. What does she do then?
This is where we get to magically come back to politics. This is where what you do is you look at what unions are in your sector. You look at which ones have like, for this one, obviously you've got to rely on, like, the national profile. Which ones match up with yourself? Which ones are more likely to support you in the type of organising that you want to do? And shop around a bit. Now, there's the TUC website has a union finder that I think Henry was going to put in the show notes.
Yeah. That is a very useful tool. I mean, like, it's how I... well, I mean, I kind of knew which unions were at my workplace, but I wanted to shop around a little bit first, just to see what I was up against, sort of thing. And then that directed me back to UCU anyway, so I was like, that'll do. That's a good one. Because initially I was put up on the off, because on the university website it said it covered lecturers, but when I looked on the TUC website, it was to cover education staff, which I technically fall under. So, so yeah, there is a very incredibly useful tool on the TUC website that you can use. Or if you have the patience of a saint, you can look through all the unions registered with the government of the UK. That list is horrid to look at, probably on purpose.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's there if you want to make your eyes bleed.
I mean, the thing about, like, as far as I'm aware, like, the smaller unions aren't on the TUC Union Finder website as often, are they?
Yeah.
So if you are, for example, in, you work as like a like gig economy worker, like the IWGB.
They're very good.
They have a really solid history of organising in that space, and you would probably be well served by looking further into them. But I don't think they appear on that TUC Union Finder.
No, I don't think they do.
Yeah, and I don't think like the
I
IWW would, if you're more into
No.
that particular flavour of unionising.
I suspect it's only ones that are affiliated with TUC.
That would make sense.
Yeah. So you won't find any of the cool ones. So that is one way to find out. Again, you could if you're a freak like me, you'll hear news about other ones on social medias and stuff. But it's good to keep an eye out, just to figure out which one kind of suits your sector, your workplace, and kind of the personality of the people that you want to organise with, sort of thing.
Yeah. Once you've got that down, what you do is you then reach out to those unions, find out if they're already organising in your area, if they're already organising in your sector, and what they're able to do is they have full-time organisers on staff who can usually come out and like meet you down at the pub or in a cafe or like over Zoom, whatever fits yourself. I think they tend to be the union organisers tend to be quite flexible in how you contact them, because they want to be able, like, part of their job is making sure there are as many avenues of conversation open as possible.
Yeah.
So yeah, you reach out, you talk to them, you find out what support they can offer in unionising your workplace, what the sort of goals would be, whether they can offer any volunteers to help spread the message amongst the sector in your area, or whatever your goals with unionising are. If they are just to get recognition in your workplace, then that tends to be the majority of unions' sort of bread and butter sort of initial campaign. They'll have a bunch of resources, they'll have a bunch of experience with things like that. And even if that's not your goal, that's when other unions like the IWGB and IWW, they have that experience similarly, but for other initial campaigns that aren't necessarily about getting recognition in a workplace.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna read out this next heading because I really wanted to say it, but also we can talk about a couple of the other cool unions as well. So, what if none of the big ones, and you kind of referenced it halfway through that conversation anyway, what if none of the big ones represent your vibe? What if you want to go with something else? What if you're a vibrating leftoid, which I love that phrase, and I love it. That's it. Or what if I work in a field that is like frowned upon by the usual unions? What about me? And I know Debbie works in a factory, but I mean, there are workers who are probably underrepresented because of the type of work that they do. I mean, i.e., sex workers.
There was actually some really interesting news about that the other day, which I will get onto in a moment. But yeah, they typically are underserved and underrepresented by the traditional union structures. There are organisations like Swarm, who are a sort of collective of sex workers who organise for their rights, basically, and there is sort of more mainstream movement towards recognising the need for sex workers to organise in their workplaces. And the news I'm referring to is on October 5th, Equity, it's professional performers is their remit. They unanimously passed a motion in Bristol to support unionisation of adult sex workers and to demand respect demands for labour rights and improve working conditions, including occupational health and safety.
Oh, hell yeah.
UVW, United Voices of the World Union, are a more traditional union. Again, they're quite small, but they're one of the more traditional unions that do organise with sex workers. But it is getting more mainstream. But you do still currently have to look at the smaller alternatives at the moment.
Yeah. I mean, like, I was just gonna, as an aside, IWW officially recognises sex work, and has a industrial union for it, which, fuck's sake, it is Industrial Union 690. Ha funny. But it is recognised, and and because they are workers, and so they need workers' protection. Another shout out for just another small union. I'm not sure where they stand on sex work, but another small union to keep an eye out for are Solfed as well. I've seen a few of their flyers and stickers around town. They seem to be doing some cool stuff, especially in Northumbria. Seems to be the place to be for like anarcho-syndicalism. Like, they've got Northeast Anarchist Group, Solfed, and IWW all like bouncing off each other. It's very cool.
Like Solfed isn't like a trade union necessarily. They're a anarcho-syndicalist group, or so they organize in workplaces, but aren't strictly a tied to a workplace like a union traditionally is.
Yes, correct.
If you want to know more about Solfed, I would recommend reading the stuff on their website, because my brain is not up to holding all the information together just for quick and easy reference.
I'll put a load of links in the bibliography. I still don't know how to say that word. Bibliography.
Yeah,
is that right?
Yeah, bibliography.
In the doobly-doo underneath this.
Don't fucking...
Welcome back. It's 2009 again, everyone. Yeah, baby. But yeah, other news for small unions around the movement. It's one of those you kind of have to dig into because they are small, and it's harder to find out more information out of this just because it's not part of the mainstream for the most part. But all still very, very cool stuff going on.
Yeah.
Okay. Debbie's got to this point.
Mm-hmm.
She there's no rep in her workplace. Her workmates aren't in a union. She doesn't like any of the smaller ones. What the hell are you doing there, Debbie? What's
Are we doing characters now? Are we doing? I mean, we've already invented Debbie. Like, I know we sort of have Debbie as a character, but are we doing like voices? Because
I don't know what happened. Honestly, something the Holy Ghost took over me for a hot minute.
Possessed by Colonel Sanders.
But it's possessed by Colonel Sanders. He tried to make me do. I don't know what the fuck Colonel Sanders did. I know he likes chicken. That's my narrative for him anyway.
Yeah, let's pretend
He's probably a
let's
racist.
pretend that's all he did. Let's pretend all
probably a
he did
racist.
was the chicken stuff. Like that's.
Yeah.
I don't have to look into him to know that he probably
So
sucked.
that he was a piece of
He
shit.
probably sucked. Like that's fine. That's
Hey.
fine. Lots of people suck.
Official statement of the pod. Fuck Colonel Sanders. Anyway.
Yeah, I'm not. We're not doing voices, or I'm not doing voices. As the listeners can tell, I already don't do voice training. Like I'm not fucking learning to do voice acting. I'm simply not.
Fuck yeah. Okay. I'll try and like hop over the ocean again, just so I'm back in the UK. Hello everyone. I'm back in the UK. We're talking unions in the UK.
Oh, you've got a real thing about like the Pacific and Atlantic today. Like first the Goose, now the Colonel.
First the Goose. Now I'm. Yeah, it's because I got dropped over there by the Goose's fucking like conquest of America, and now I'm stuck there. Fuck's sake. Anyway.
Whew. Lot of Goose Chat this week. A lot of Goose Chat.
Debbie's not happy with any of those. She wants to start her own from the ground, fresh up. And what advice can we give to Debbie?
Okay, first of all, good lord, why? I mean, though I suppose like these smaller unions that we're talking about, they all started this way because they weren't satisfied with the way that the existing unions existed. So it's clearly possible. It's clearly a thing you can do.
Yeah.
The process, I imagine, is difficult and much like founding any other sort of organisation in the UK. Like, I think you'd need like a steering committee putting together. You'd need like articles of association or whatever they're called for trade unions.
She's got a storm ahead of her if she wants to do this. Like again, if she can do it, like,
more power to her. If
good
she
on
wants,
you and your workmates.
If she wants to form a specific union because none of the other unions do what she wants in the way she wants done.
They don't understand what it's like to be on the conveyor belt fitting two bits of metal together. They don't get it.
Especially not when you're a sphere,
Especially not when you're like a perfect
sphere in a vacuum factory.
Yeah, there's just not the right representation for that
at
all. She wants her own union.
Yeah.
I'm imagining like Poland Ball. Like that's what I'm seeing for Debbie.
The nation balls.
Yeah. Fuck's sake.
Again, it's always 2007 on the pod.
We never left.
Yeah, we couldn't cope with the massive psychic backlash from the 2008 financial crash and the idea that the entire economy and our entire planned future up to that point simply turned to dust in a matter of months. We just couldn't cope with that, so it's 2007 forever, baby.
I'm gonna get really into XKCD comics again. Watch me go. They're still going.
Yeah, still going.
And so are Cyanide and Happiness. Good for them.
Good for them.
God.
Good for them.
Okay, so Debbie has done it. She's formed her own independent union, and she has led the revolution with her workmates. They were the final thing to lead us to the great beyond. Fantastic work. Well done, Debbie. Comrade Debbie. We did it.
Okay, but first you need to actually know how to organize in your workplace.
No, you just do it, right? You just press the button, right?
No.
You press the big button that says
No.
Revolution. Smash.
Yeah, you press the big general strike button by tweeting at the TUC. And that's how a general strike comes about. Is you tweet at the TUC.
Like, subscribe, mash the fuck out of that general strike button. we'll and I'll see you in the next episode. Comment and subscribe. Fuck us up. Fuck's sake. But yeah, that was a really good tangent that Corey was creating that I derailed immediately.
But we will see you in the next episode where we'll be talking about how to organise. You see, I fucking got it back. I got the segue back. We're fucking back on it. We're back on the pod. We are professionals. We're not. We've never been paid for this because we have 6 listeners.
Well, we don't actually have any means for people to pay us, so unless it counts just throwing money at us.
If you see me, throw coins at me. Like I'll get it. I'll know.
We'll know. We'll know it's for the pod. Like, we'll understand. God's sake.
Yeah.
But yeah. So we'll be back maybe next week. Who knows at this rate? With the next part on how to organise and what Debbie did. What Debbie did do.
What Debbie gotta do.
What she do. What that Debbie do. But that'll have to wait until next time. Thank you everyone for listening. Let's do the usual. The music in this episode was Solidarity Forever, made by Intellectual Darkwave. I remembered, so you don't have to. Fuck's sake. We have socials. We have our Twitter account, which is just Unions in the UK. And then our email, if you ever want to contact us, which is unionsintheuk@gmail.com. I believe that's everything.
Yeah, and we've actually timed this perfectly because I've literally just finished my goose beer.
Oh my god, wow.
Yeah, look at us, timing stuff. Synergy.
It's just
the
it's
dialectic.
Gonna be about 40 minutes as well.
Yeah, and only 10 of it is talking about geese.
Only 10 of it's talking about geese.
Well, one particular goose.
One particular very special goose that keeps us warm in our hearts. But yeah, any final words, Corey?
No, I think we've covered it all. Yeah, thank you for listening. Good job, you.
Good job.
This is praxis. This is what it is.
Bye.
Bye.